another great episode of the All Ball No Foul podcast, Nick. I know we've basically gone on our summer hiatus. We haven't really talked hoops since June.
Yep.
So guys, it's great to be back talking some basketball with one of my great friends here, Nick Levere. And Nick, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about the new NBA media rights deal that happened in late July. I was in Vegas actually when this happened, so it was very very interesting that they got Amazon, Disney, NBC. It's gonna be very interesting to see your thoughts, Grim, because I know we're kind of talking about this off air a little bit. So I can't wait to tell everybody what your thoughts are about that. And then we're also going to talk about a lot about the Olympics, man. You know, there's not that much NBA news. Ever since our last podcast episode, there's only been, Gary Trent Jr. went to the Bucks. Tyus Jones went to Phoenix. I think that trade that eventually got Russell Westbrook to Denver. I think those were the only three things that have really happened. So the Olympics has been such a huge thing. So can't wait to dive into these topics, man.
Yeah, no, man. No, definitely. I think yeah, like you said, marginal moves in the NBA, so there's not really much to go off on the NBA today. I do just want to really quickly point out, I think the Tyus Jones signing was actually pretty solid for the Suns. I don't think it moves the needle by any means, but I think they got a point guard that actually can play some defense, something they badly need on that team.
I agree, and he could orchestrate an offense. So
Yeah.
it is a sneaky move. I do like the Tyus Jones move though.
Yeah,
Sure.
I like the move. I just think that like there's so much that we could talk about what that team needs to fix
Mhm.
in general.
Yeah.
So not gonna get too far into that, Nick, but I think like what you were just mentioning too is like we want to talk about the NBA media rights deal and talk about, the impact of that. So the NBA just signed their 10-year like NBA media rights deal, which is the renegotiation with like all of their like broadcast services and everything that has actually caused the last salary cap spike that we saw in 2016 where you saw role players signing for 70, 80 million dollars, which was unheard of at the time. But now, I mean, you got guys making a shit ton of money. Dylan Brooks made $84 million last offseason after having a terrible playoff series against the Lakers. So stuff like this is very common. And I said this to you off air, Nick, but I think that with this new NBA media rights deal, I do think that there's going to be at least one or two players that are going to hit the $100 million a year mark by the end of this decade. I think that the way it's going and with Jaylen Brown being, the first like $70 million player, I think it's not that far off to go another 30 million for somebody like Luka Doncic or maybe Anthony Edwards when he signs that like super max, one day. Because I think that he'll be one of the best players in the league.
Absolutely, man. There's a lot of good young talent out there that's going to get a couple more contracts, and SGA is another one. Um, if Cooper Flag really does be as great as everybody says this kid's going to be when he comes out of Duke, you see
Mm.
what he did on the select team as well. He was busting Anthony Davis, as you know what. You saw the highlights, and I mean, the kid was 17 doing that. Imagine give him 10 years. I mean, if he's only going to get better, I mean, he even could be the first one.
I
It's
mean,
that mark.
you're definitely right. It's gonna be one of those guys. I think that for like, sorry, excuse me. No, but for like a lot of guys, they're gonna definitely, generational wealth. I mean, a lot of guys in the NBA have not only made a lot of money on the court, but off the court with, shoe deals, commercials, advertisement, starting podcasts. I mean, I think one of the best like player podcasts out there right now is the Roommates with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. I think they have something that's really going there. People like listening to it. Paul George has a pretty big following in his podcast P. So you got guys that are doing everything else, and it's crazy because I just want to pull up the numbers, Nick. So the NBA media deal is worth $76 billion. So that's just like on like revenue, like just being worth that much. And obviously, like the NBA is trying to make a lot off ad revenue, streaming services. every person that, subscribes to all these streaming services to watch sports games, it's going to be a very common thing that you're going to see. So it's an 11-year agreement, like I said, worth $76 billion. And this is going to give the rights to NBC, which was a big broadcasting service that's wanted to come back and show the NBA. I don't think they've actually had NBA coverage since the early 2000s. And, I think that Amazon Prime has been one of those TV service, well, streaming services that have really tried to put themselves into every single market. It's crazy that that company actually started off as a book company back in the 90s. And to see where they are today is just like
Yeah.
insane. I mean, they have Thursday Night Football. They paid billions of dollars to get that. Now
Mhm.
they're paying billions of dollars to get into the NBA world. And I think like, and I'm just going to say this first. I really hate to see that TNT's contract is going to be done after this year with the NBA. I get it. It's not necessarily the most analytical show. If you're a big analyst, analytical and like for sports data and stuff, if you want to see that, probably not the show to watch. They're going to give their like funny takes and stuff and say some like random stuff and not really break down the game in the way that maybe some people want to, but it's
Mhm.
entertainment value. You have a long day at work, you just want to hang out, watch the games, watch the pregame show, halftime, postgame show, have some laughs and just kind of like feel like you're part of like the group. Like
Mhm.
you really feel like you're connected to these guys. And they do something that like no other sports show is doing. They're calling out for what it is, and they're not afraid to say it to the players' faces. I mean, Shaq will call out anybody on
Mhm.
air, and he's not gonna like dodge it and be like, "Oh, well, that's not what I meant."
I play Charles as well.
Oh yeah, they don't have filters, and you
Yeah.
can't do that on most like sports shows, but they're
Mhm.
allowed to. And I think that that's something that we don't really see, which I think is terrible. That's being taken away now.
Yeah. That's why, for example, I know might go a little bit off topic. That's why I think a lot of people love Pat McAfee.
Oh yeah,
It's
oh yeah,
fine. ESPN does not like him because he is not afraid. Like we just talked about with Charles and Shaq, he speaks his mind, and they don't like that kind of stuff. I think that's why they were trying to get rid of them. Even Charles Barkley, um, like Saudi Arabia wanted to get him a monster contract. I don't know if you heard about this. The guy was going to get paid like 50 plus million a year to go commentate out there, but he didn't want to go live out there. You know how certain people now are starting to go to Saudi Arabia, like soccer players, Ronaldo. There's a lot of players that
oh
are
yeah,
Saudi Arabia's got
yeah.
got the bag now, man. So they're just trying to take anybody and
Oh
just
yeah,
over
Saudi Arabia was out because they have so much money over there,
yeah,
so they're just going to throw it at anybody to try and get them. I mean,
yeah,
look at what Disney did, with ESPN Monday Night Football, how much money they're paying Joe Buck and Troy Aikman to commentate on those games.
yeah.
And the other thing too that with like Amazon being now the one of the streaming services that you're going to have to use to watch NBA games is like who are they going to have commentating on these games? Who's going to be your like talk show? I just feel like they've already killed Thursday Night Football, and it's not entirely their fault. Just the games have also been kind of crap.
Yeah.
So what happens now that you're bringing in the NBA and there's going to be multiple games? And it's not like
Mhm.
the NFL where it's like you're only providing one game. You're providing multiple games during the duration of the day.
Yep.
So how is that going to work? Are you going to have your own broadcasting like crews? Like who are you going to pay? Who are you bringing in? Are you bringing in former NBA players? Are you just bringing in like personnel that you think are going to fit? Because those are questions that I would want to know.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too is like NBC, I know Mike Tirico is going to be definitely one of the like voices of like NBC basketball, which makes sense because usually like one of their like high end figures that was also like commentating on football usually does basketball as well. So I wouldn't be surprised. There's Nick, if you want to believe this, they're paying I just was looking through some of this. It's going to be $2.5 billion per season. And it would showcase all the games on Sunday night once the NFL season has ended. It'll air games on Tuesday through the regular season and a Monday night package of games that would only exclusively be streamed on Peacock. So maybe to get a little bit away from basketball,
Mhm.
but do you feel like we basically now like how our parents always paid for cable
Mhm.
and
Cable's
that
gone
was
now.
like the way that you got to, watch everything. It's like, isn't this basically the same thing we're doing now with all the streaming services? Like I got to pay for Peacock. I got to pay for Amazon Prime. I have to pay for Yeah, I'm trying to think of
You gotta pay for HBO just to be able to watch Hard Knocks.
yeah,
They ain't airing it on TV. You
yeah.
know, it's kind of wild. Like even the first NFL, I think, no, excuse me, the Friday game, the Eagles Packers, that's on Peacock. If you got Peacock, you can't watch the game. Even they were showing, even certain NFL playoff games were on Peacock. Like this is getting ridiculous now. Like
Yeah.
so many people were spending so much money on like, especially I have like my parents have Direct TV, for example, so they do the NFL Sunday Ticket and stuff. And like, what's the
Mhm.
point of getting NFL Sunday Ticket now when everything you could just stream everything now these days? Like it's crazy, man. I hate the streaming shit, to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. Even like I get what they're doing. Obviously, it brings them more money, and I understand that. It forces people to pay to be able to see certain things that they want to see. But
Mhm.
is it just me or streaming? They're always behind.
Um, I would say like a little bit. I think it
Mhm.
also just depends on when you start playing it. So sometimes there are, I mean,
Mhm.
naturally you are on a 10-second delay in case of like any accidents or people that are cussing. Those get censored out.
Mhm.
So like there always is technically a little bit of delay,
Yeah.
but I know what you mean sometimes. Like it just seems like it's so far behind in some of the
Yeah.
streams. And I think the other problem too is like you pay all this money, right, to have this like high performance um, stream, but
Mhm.
then it's not working. And I mean it's not perfect. TV is not always perfect. Cable goes out, satellite TV goes out, especially like when there's like overcast and stuff, like you're not going to be able to watch if you have a service like Direct TV. So I mean that's like those are like minute things in the large picture. I just think it's, I think that right now we're just kind of in an age where I don't know what it's going to look like to watch um sports games in the future because everything just seems like you have to have some type of streaming service to be able to watch it unless you're going to go on Stream East like a lot of people do. And
I do for boxing and UFC sometimes.
like technically a lot of people like do use Stream East, which, I mean,
Mhm.
what, they can't stop everybody, right? So, and there I expect more people to be using services like that moving forward because they know they're not going to pay. If you're not going to shut down a site like that, they're not going to pay for $10 per month, streaming service where you also have to watch ads too. So it's not like you're gonna have to one watch ads to use the service, and that's like the whole point. It was like you don't want to have that. Like streaming was supposed to be in your hands, like you can watch it uninterrupted. That was like the whole beauty of it. So I know this is a basketball, you know, podcast, but just kind of breaking it down a little bit.
That's
Uh,
what's been going on with the NFL. I wouldn't be shocked in maybe 3 to 5 years. It's going to exactly happen with the NBA too. But the NBA will be more complicated because there's more games every single day and there's more
yeah,
teams involved in this and that. So I wonder how that would work if that's what they're trying to push for. But
and I'm
yeah.
I'm curious too what it's gonna do to like local sports channels. Like you have like your NBC Chicago, you have obviously like NBC Sports like for like everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Or Comcast Sports. Like I think now it's like just Comcast Sports, but like you have
Yeah.
these local like sports talk shows and like they rely off all the home games to be able to broadcast and provide for your local viewers and stuff. What happens to them now? Are they all out of a job because now everything is being provided off of a streaming service, or are they going to basically you're going to broadcast the game with those announcers, and is that how it's going to work? Because I don't know how this is going to all play out. Is it going to be like that? Because like you said, there are a lot of games, 82 games for 30 teams in the NBA. That's a lot of games that you're going to be broadcasting. And obviously Amazon's not broadcasting every night. It's
Right.
going to be like the weeknight games. Big games are going to still be like on ESPN. You're going to have it on NBC for some of the bigger games, and then Amazon's going to kind of have more of those like random like days where it sounds like that's what's going to be the thing. But yeah, I don't know. I we'll see how that works moving forward. I know that like TNT, will be here for one more year. So Tuesday, Thursday nights are gonna still be for TNT, which I'm happy to see Kenny, Shaq, Ernie, and Chuck giving us their hilarious insights and just goofing around, having a good time. But
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's nice. So,
yeah.
Graham, I like to. I'm very looking forward to this because obviously the only basketball that's out there now is the Olympics. So, what are your thoughts on how it's played out so far? Because I'll tell you what, for me, I'm shocked that Canada lost today. Shocked.
I mean, Jamal Murray has been putting up 5 points per game, and
Bad
he did
too.
not. He has not looked good. People are starting to call him the Jokic merchant here. So I guess everybody plays well against the Lakers, and then when it comes to other teams now, they all of a sudden forget how to play. I mean, it's kind of crazy that Canada is already out of the Olympics for basketball, considering that they're one of only two teams that really have most of their roster comprised of NBA players. Besides the US, they're the other team that I can think of that has more than five NBA players on their roster. And you got like solid players. It's not like, oh, there's one really good player and then the rest of them are just like guys sitting on the bench. Like these are like RJ Barrett's a starter. Dylan Brooks is a starter in Houston. Obviously, like Jamal Murray is supposed to be a star point guard. You got SGA on your team. You got Kelly Olynyk, who's a serviceable big man. Like,
You have Nemhart comes off the bench for
yep,
this team. So they got a crew, man. They really do got a crew.
yeah. And I'm just like, for me personally, like and the world has gotten better at basketball. Like it's not a secret. South Sudan almost upset the US in a friendly. And people were kind of scared about that because of how bad they played in that game and the fact that you had to rely on almost 4-year-old LeBron James to bail you out at the end.
Yeah.
Says a lot about, what the team's looking like. I also think that another thing too is I think that the USA team, this is one thing I want to say, Nick. I'm very worried about the future of the USA men's basketball team because I feel like all the old guys really care and the young guys don't really seem to care. Like Tyrese Halliburton is just happy to be there. He does not really care what he does. He'll be okay sitting on the bench for the whole time. I mean, he's played a little bit,
Yeah.
but you don't have anybody besides I think Ant Edwards that has that like killer mentality and like really wants to be there.
Yeah.
It's like really like KD, LeBron, like those guys have been really like the heart and soul of the team so far in the Olympics. And I get it, LeBron, this is probably one of his like most important games he'll probably ever play for the rest of his career. So he wants to win a gold medal, finish out on top. Well, how do you feel about the USA team? Because I'm curious to see what you're thinking about them because I know that obviously we're gonna know the most about like the USA team.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling good. I mean, they had a great win against Brazil. Brazil, don't believe doesn't have any NBA talent currently. I know they had Leandro Barbosa play for them.
Hmm.
Anderson Varejãos played for them. I think Nene is actually Brazil
Yes.
too. But besides those three, I don't think there's anybody in the NBA currently playing on the Brazil national team. But their next opponent is going to be Serbia, a team that they've already beat both times. They beat them in an exhibition. They were in the same group and they beat them in group play. Um, Steve Kerr has had some very interesting lineups. Obviously, first game, Jason Tatum didn't even touch the floor. Second game against South Sudan, Joel Embiid didn't even play either. Like I understand they're still winning these games, but it's just like Jason Tatum has been all NBA first team for 3 straight seasons, just won a
Hmm.
championship. The guy doesn't see the floor. I was shocked by that, by the way. I'm not saying he should be starting. And it's weird, like Steve Kerr's like, okay, you won't play this game, but I'm gonna put you in the starting lineup the next game. Like he's had a different starting lineup every game. And I mean, I get it, he is going by matchups and stuff like that, and I understand that, but I don't care if the games are only 40 minutes instead of 48. How does Jason Tatum not see the floor? I mean, if you want to give him a limited role, how does he not play at least 8 minutes? I mean,
No, I hear you. I hear
you
you.
know what I mean? And like Joel Embiid's literally like he's won an MVP literally 2 years ago. He didn't even see the floor one of the games either. Now I get it because like if you did see how South Sudan played them in the first game, like
Hmm.
the exhibition when USA's down 18, Joel Embiid keeps dropping on coverages on pick and rolls, and South Sudan's bigs can shoot. So Embiid can't play the drop coverage. That's why they had Bam and AD because they could guard on the perimeter, they could recover quicker, things like that. So Steve Kerr actually made a smart move but it's still, you still got a lot of balls to put him on the bench for the whole game and not even let him see any tick. But no, Graham, I do agree though when you say it seems like the veterans of this team care a lot more than the young guys. I could see, the next Olympics, I could see the USA now win it.
I mean,
You're
they
not
didn't
gonna
win. They didn't win last year in the FIBA
Yeah, you're
FIBA
not
Cup.
gonna have KD. LeBron's probably gonna be done.
Mm.
I mean,
Steph's
you're
going to
gonna
be a lot
have,
older.
what's gonna be interesting is like I wonder if Tyrese Halliburton will be on the team because you do have Jalen Brunson. I think everybody's forgetting one name because he was barely in the NBA last year. Watch out for John Morant. I could see him being the
That's
starting
true.
point guard for Team USA in
That's
the
true.
next Olympics. I could really see that happen. People are forgetting about John Morant as well, but they do got some young guard
Mm.
talent. D-Book, Edwards,
Mm.
Tatum, Jalen Brown should be on the team.
Oh yeah, no, he should
I
definitely
want
be
to I
on the
want to get
next.
your thoughts on Derek White was an alternative because he replaced
Oh yeah,
Kawhi
yeah.
Leonard. Derek White's like top 6, 7 in this team in minutes. So how is it somebody that wasn't selected whatsoever, wasn't even thought of, and all of a sudden like playing almost half the game every game and getting crucial minutes and late in ball games as well?
So it's actually a good point, and I've listened to a lot of other people talk about this specific topic, and I have to go with this point. I think that when you're on a team full of like, I'm the guy, if I need the ball in my hands and go and cook, Derek White is not that kind of guy. He can play off the ball. He's your best defender. He can do a little bit of everything because he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be able to affect the game. We saw it in the NBA Finals. He played great, and he's not even their best player, but he definitely felt like he was the best player and had the most impact. You see Derek White getting cuts down the lane and also being able to like bother, one of the better players on the other team's shooter or whoever has the ball in their hands. And I know that Steve Kerr needs a guy like that out there that's going to be somebody who doesn't need their shot or need their opportunity to score. He just needs a guy that's going to be able to run back and forth down the court every time. Now, I do think that Jalen Brown should have been selected over him just based on talent alone, but I get it. You want to have a selfless guy. I think him and Drew Holiday, and their teammates, those are the two guys on your team that are the most selfless guys. Not to say that AD and Bam are necessarily like the most ball dominant players. Like AD doesn't actually want to play with the ball in his hands. We've seen it a lot.
Yep.
Bam has never been known to be the guy with the ball in his hand in every single possession. He's usually a guy that facilitates the offense on the top of the key, but never the guy that's like bringing the ball up and trying to score every time he goes down the court. But everybody else you name on that team, besides Halliburton, LeBron, Durant, Booker, Embiid, Tatum, all those guys like and Curry, they're all like the best player on their team. And like that's how I look at it when I look at this team. And I do agree with you though, Nick. Before I give it back to you, I do think that you cannot say there's only 40 minutes, I can't play everybody. It's like, dude, come on. Like, look at the 2008 Redeem team. Like, you're telling me that, like, there was a lot of good players on that team. You're telling me that not everybody didn't get a little bit of a chance to play? I mean, like, Melo literally scored 37 points in, what was it, 14 minutes? I mean, come on, man. Like, what are we
Yeah.
talking about here? I don't have enough time to be able to give him a couple minutes. It's like, everybody on this team has an argument of why they should play. Now I get, that you have a couple guys on this team that aren't star level players,
Yeah.
but they're really good role players and they serve their role. I mean, how do you feel about Derek White? Because I mean, just asking the question yourself, how do you feel about him being on the team? Do you feel like it should have been Jalen Brown? Do you think it should have been somebody else? What are your thoughts?
I'll tell you what, I mean, you make a lot of great points, especially there's a lot of star level talent on this team. They kind of needed some scrappy guys on this team, guys willing to do the dirty work. LeBron at 40 years old is not going to die for a loose ball. Kevin Durant's not going to die for a loose ball. I mean, well, let's just be honest here. And Derek White and Drew Holiday are only two guys on his team that are willing to pick up these guards 94 feet. Obviously, the Olympics, too, to give Derek White and Drew Holiday more credit, it's a completely different game, man. I mean,
Oh
you see
yeah.
the balls near the rim, bigs are allowed to tap it.
Yep.
You're allowed to just play a lot more physicality, man. You're kind of especially how Derek White's picking up these guys 94 feet, putting pressure on these guys. Like you get called for fouls all night long in the
Oh
NBA.
yeah, that's
You
what
would
Joel
foul
Embiid's
out
waiting
in
for.
3 minutes in the
Yeah.
NBA. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like I do like how the game is called in the Olympics. And Derek White, man, when he's had his opportunity to score the ball, he shot the three ball pretty well, and I see Drew Holiday getting some starts. I understand what they're doing. You can't just put top five players in the world in the
I think it's
lineup.
gonna
I
work.
get it, man, because even
Yeah.
look at this right now. For the games that we've seen so far, the top four players on Team USA so far
Mhm.
in the Olympics, three of them come off the bench. Anthony Edwards leads the team in scoring. He comes off the bench. He reminds me of the '08 Wade. Wade led the team in scoring, I think, in the '08 Olympics or second. I don't
He
remember. But
was.
Anthony Edwards reminds me
Think he
so much
was.
of
I think he was first.
Anthony
I want
Edwards
to
reminds
say.
me so much of Dwayne Wade. Everyone can talk about Jordan or Kobe. No, no, no. I think he reminds me more of D Wade, like a prime D Wade. That's just me personally. Kevin Durant's the second leading scorer on this team. He comes coming off the bench as well.
Mhm.
But Bam Adebayo has been balling. Anthony Davis as well. I mean, like these guys are coming off the bench. It feels like to me the bench players have been playing better than the starters.
Well, it's actually ironic. Anthony Davis today played more minutes than Joel Embiid, you know, but Anthony Davis also is a better defender than Joel Embiid is.
So
So,
Bam.
and Bam, like you mentioned, right? Those two, when they're on the floor, nobody can score in the paint.
Mhm.
Especially because, like you said, the FIBA rules are different. Goaltending is not a thing in FIBA like it is in the NBA.
Yeah.
So, and something that you also mentioned about, Derek White be getting called, for all these fouls, right? Well, that's why Joel Embiid's not getting all his foul calls. This is something that, people have talked about as a joke, and I know trolling him and stuff, but it's true. He's looking for foul calls. He's trying to. I get that people don't like that he's on the team. I just think like this, yeah, okay, you're gonna taunt, but don't shoot the ball. Like you guys are already won. Like it's unnecessary for you to shoot the ball, then you airball it, so you look even goofier when you did
Oh,
it.
you're talking about when he damn near chucked the half quarter then.
Yeah, it was against Puerto Rico, and I just
That's
thought I'm like,
mhm.
what was the point of that? You guys like you're just sitting like, yeah, I get the fans don't like you. I mean, to be fair, too, like you could have played for the French national team, but you chose to go with the US, so of course people are going to be upset at you either way.
Yeah.
Nick, I gotta say this other thing though too.
Yeah.
I know that like you have mentioned off air about how France is a formidable opponent, but I don't know, man. I feel like these refs might sell because there was I really don't agree with this, and it's not because Roy Hachimura plays for the Lakers or something, but I just think like he did not do anything egregious to Rudy Gobert on that foul that got
I
him
agree.
ejected.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
This is not that is not a flagrant or a technical. It is a
Trying to make a
standard
play
foul.
and a foul. It's a
Yeah.
foul. Yeah,
But
that's all it is.
where's the shoving and like unnecessary contact? Like what are we talking about here? Like he didn't do anything to him.
No, I agree. And even though I am shocked that Canada is eliminated,
Mhm.
I personally would have had Germany beating Canada.
I think Germany's going to be
I
the
think
other
Germany
team.
is the biggest threat to the United States. Obviously Germany did beat them, but like this USA team is different. We have to understand it. They didn't like have certain guys. USA
Mhm.
didn't have like Steph. They didn't have certain guys playing on the team when Germany beat them last time. You know what I mean? So, or when Germany won the last, or when because they're considered like the world champions because they won the last basketball tournament, right? They
Yeah.
won the yeah. But no, they got some guys on the team, man. Dennis Schroeder is for some reason he goes nuts in the Olympics. I'm like, where's this shit in the NBA now? Like, he used to be like, I remember he was coming off the bench for Oklahoma. Ever since then, I feel like his career really went downhill, to be honest with you, NBA wise. Obviously, they have Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner's a baller, man. He got his big money in Orlando. Congrats to him. They just got a lot of guys that have been playing together for a long time, not necessarily NBA talent, but there's a lot of talent on that German national team. But France, that's interesting. Rudy Gobert didn't even play today because he had a hand injury or something. So he didn't even play at all. So it's going to be very interesting because France has got a lot of size on Germany. I don't know how Germany's going to be able to guard Wemby. That's going to be very, very interesting to see. Serbia is going against the United States again. I just think USA is just going to overpower them like they have the last few games. Like Jokic can only do so much at the end of the day. Jokic will get his
100%.
20. You know what I mean? But like, who else on that team is going to give you another tournament? I feel like they are going to need to shoot the lights out. You got to hit at least 15 plus threes on the United States to have a chance. That's why South Sudan almost had a shot. I think they made like 17 threes in that
They
exhibition
made
game.
they made an absurd amount of threes in that
Yeah,
game.
and it's crazy that they don't even have any indoor parks. And Lou Aldane, I don't know if you know this, Lou Aldane funded some of his earnings, career earnings, to get South Sudan a team. Like that's kind of insane. You know what I mean? And I believe they've only been a country for like 12, 13 years. I think that was correct. I think they're like new, right? They
Yeah,
only been
South
a country.
Sudan is like brand new, but
Yeah.
yes, like you said, Luol Deng has been funding
Yeah.
this program with his own money. So yeah, and they do have like Carlick Jones. I know was on South Sudan. They were saying like
Gabriel
how
from used to play for the Lakers too.
yeah, Wayne Gabriel. Like they do have some like former NBA players. And actually, Nick, I was looking at the Brazil team. So they do actually have a couple of former NBA players, but nobody like crazy. So our boy Cristiano Felicio, shout out the Bulls, is
He's still
on.
on the team. Oh
Yep, he played
wow.
6 minutes today. Bruno Caboclo was actually a lottery pick by the Toronto Raptors. Oh, not lottery pick, late like mid draft pick. I only know this because I remember
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
a friend of mine getting really hyped about the pick, even though he was just trolling. And then the other guy is Raul Neto. He was kind of a like he was just a role player, but yeah, like those three all played in the NBA.
Yeah.
And like you said though, Nick, Germany is definitely the biggest threat. You have both the Wagner brothers there, Daniel Tice. So they have size,
Yep.
which can combat the USA's size. And then yeah, I don't know, man. Dennis Schroeder, when he plays on the national team, it's like he's like a whole other dude. Besides his like stints with LA, everything else has just kind of been like very silent in terms
Yeah.
of him playing. So I think they can. I definitely think they could. I don't think they'll beat the US, but they're going to give them a good challenge.
I think they're only team left that can't give them a good challenge, to be honest. It's like I understand France does have some NBA talent. They got Wemby, they got Gobert, they got Nicholas Batum, Evan.
Yeah.
Like they got some guy, they got some good guys on the team. I understand they got a home crowd advantage playing in their country and stuff. I
Mhm.
understand that. But I would say I think I'm gonna have Germany and United States, and I'm gonna have USA beating Germany in the final to show everybody that when we put our best talent on the floor, nobody can still beat us. But the world is catching up, Grim. So that's my predictions on the next two games. I don't know about you. I don't know if you could see Serbia giving some sort of game to the United States, or do you see France beating Germany?
I don't see Serbia beating the US.
Yeah.
Unless Jokic is going to score 100 points himself. I don't think they have anybody on the team that can beat them. But that's just, reality says when you have
Or you think,
every,
let me
yeah,
phrase it this way, not to beat them, but you think
yeah. Oh, give
there,
them a challenge.
there could
You're
be a
saying?
challenge where like maybe it's like maybe starting the fourth quarter and maybe Serbia's only down single digits can make it interesting. So I understand. I mean, USA's beating them pretty good in both games, but maybe they've been watching a lot of tape. Maybe they can at least make it interesting at some point.
It's possible, but I just I don't see it. I just think because at the end of the day, like Serbia does have, and then they do have Bogdanovic too. Like I think Bogdanovic is a solid player, but I
Yes.
don't think um Nikola Jokic and Bogdanovic is gonna beat the USA with like all their like heavy weapons. I think that they could definitely make an interesting game, but I feel like the US, since like the friendlies, has taken care of business. I mean, playing South Sudan the second time, they had no struggle to beat them.
Yeah.
Obviously against Puerto Rico, no struggle, and then today, obviously they beat Brazil pretty convincingly. I
Yeah.
don't really see a way that they lose. I mean, the only way is if they're going to play how they did in the friendlies, where it's just kind of like they're not playing serious to begin with, and then they get down by like double digits, and then they got to like start taking it serious. I think that between France and Germany, I think Germany will win. My reason being is that yeah, Wemby's a talented player, right? Um, but I don't think Rudy Gobert is really going to see a lot of minutes. I think that he's starting to become Nick unplayable. I really like in this
It's all the
version
time in
of
the
the
playoffs in the
yeah
NBA.
it's just this version of the NBA now, and like just basketball in general relies more on you being able to move your feet laterally and then also being able to come out and guard around on the perimeter, which like you were saying about Joel Embiid and drop coverage where, he was letting these bigs shoot and they were going to hit every shot that he's not going to guard them on. Similar thing with Rudy Gobert. You're going to put him on an island every time, you bring him out there. It's just not worth it for them to like keep him out there. So, France is thinking best way that we can win against, especially a team like Germany who can shoot the three. They have the size to be inside, and then Dennis Schroeder has been one of the best like players in international basketball that I could think of in the last 2 years of how he's been playing. So, yeah, I don't see it any other way. I think it's going to be a collision course between the U.S. and Germany. I think that the U.S. will take gold, but
Yeah, I
I
agree.
but I thought that since the Olympics started, I didn't really see it. I think this is the last time that we're for sure lock for gold. In the future, we might have a conversation about that because
Facts.
Canada's going to be back for sure. I think that this year just unfortunately just didn't work out for them, but we'll see, Nick. We'll see.
Don't forget too, Zach Edey could be on that team. He
That
did
is true.
came off the bench for them during like the feed, but I don't know if he played, but he was on their bench. Like he's on the
Mhm.
roster technically if they wanted him on there.
Yeah,
So
and I also think half of Team USA right now might be retired by the next Olympics. No lie.
yeah.
Like, I mean, that's how old some of these guys are. I don't think we realize how old they are, but yeah, like some of them are going to be in their 40s. So I don't think we're going to see them in 2028, but we're really blessed to be able to see them play all together one more time in a setting like this. So let's just appreciate what we got right now. Hopefully we bring home gold.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, I know, like, I know again, like this episode was a little bit different just because like we don't have like a crazy amount of basketball to talk about right now besides the Olympics and then just kind of some things that are happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely, like once the NBA season starts ramping up a little bit more, we'll definitely have more to talk about. I know the summer league happened, but like how much are we really, paying close attention to the summer league and stuff? I think it was just kind of hard. There wasn't like anything that was great about the summer league. I didn't really see anything myself that's like jaw dropping besides like Matas looking like he might be something for the Bulls.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, guys, I just quickly want to say thank you again for always staying updated with us on the world of basketball. We appreciate you guys listening. If you haven't yet, remember to subscribe, follow, like, share our podcast both on Spotify and YouTube. Follow us on X or Twitter for more updates on our day to day. And Nick, anything else you want to give the listeners before we sign off tonight?
I do have one prediction I do want to announce on here.
All right.
Anthony Edwards is going to win NBA MVP next season.
All right. All right. All
I
right.
think they're
Well,
tired of giving it to Jokic. I think they're
all
tired
right.
of giving it to bigs. I think a guard's going to win it. I think Minnesota's a good enough regular season team. They could be a top 2 seed just by being healthy and Anthony Edwards just on a mission course.
No, I agree with you, man. I think he could definitely, I think he has a very big argument considering what they just did this year. I got to the Western Conference Finals.
Popularity helps him too on his side.
Yeah, he's a villain, man. He loves that role. I think he definitely can do it. But all right, we got Nick's Anthony Edwards MVP prediction so far. So next time you'll start seeing a little bit more predictions about next season. So guys, like I said, if you have not, please like, comment, subscribe, and share our podcast for Nick and myself. This is All Ball No Foul. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of the summer and hope you guys enjoy the rest of the Olympics.